When I was 17 years old, I got a summer job working on a drilling rig. I still remember the slow, salty boat ride out to the rig. The rig kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger until we got to this gigantic drilling machine floating on the water. That rig would open a whole new world for me. When I got on board, within 5 minutes, before I even knew where I was going to sleep, before I knew anything about my job, before I knew anything about life rafts or safety, one of the crew grabbed me by the arm and he pulled me aside. And he said, "I've got to give you one piece of advice. Don't put your fingers anywhere that you wouldn't stick your little pecker." That was one of the shortest and most memorable safety briefings I've ever had in my life. My job on the rig was I was a painter. And it turns out that was the lowest, most junior job on the rig. And it pretty much meant that I had to do anything that anybody told me to do. I had to do all the stuff that no one wanted to do. So I spent all day carrying around buckets, hauling hoses, mopping. And the whole time, all I tried to do was look like I didn't understand everything else that was going on around me, because I didn't. All the other guys on board the rig were older than me. They had traveled the world. They had faded tattoos, missing fingers. All their stories were about cheating on their wife, about getting divorced, about bar fights. These guys were not perfect, but slowly they became my role models. I looked up to those guys. Luckily, one day, a chief mechanic named Mick took me under his wing, and he started coaching me, mentoring me. Every time he went to do a job, he'd take me with him. When he stripped on equipment, he'd tell me what the equipment did, how it worked. He'd show me the seals, the oil. He tried to show me everything. And every 5 minutes, he would stop and look at me, and he'd say, "Got it?" Now, my 17-year-old self, my brain wasn't fully matured. I thought saying I didn't understand meant I was stupid. So even though everything he said went right over my head, I just said, "Yep, got it," and I smiled, nodded my head. This went on for a while. One day, Mick saw me crossing the deck, almost running, and I was carrying a bucket of oil in one hand and a toolbox in the other. And I thought running around made me look like I was energetic, working hard. Mick stopped me. He said, "Put down the bucket and the toolbox and come here." He pulled me over by the handrail. And we're both looking out over the ocean. And he said, "I need to tell you a story." He said, "There's a father bull and a son bull stood on top of a hill, and they're looking down into a valley of cows below. And the son turns to the father and said, 'Hey, Dad, let's run down that hill and fuck a couple of cows.'" The dad stopped, looked at him really slowly. He said, "Son, why don't we walk down and fuck every single one of them?" And then Mick looked me in the eye and he said, "You understand?" And I swear to God, to this day, I still do not understand the point of that story. But I said, "Yep, got it." About 2 weeks later, Mick took me aside and he said, "Hey, today we're going to do a really important job. We've got a portable air compressor, and every day it has to be turned on in the morning and turned off at night, and I'm going to show you how to do it." I was really happy. So I went along with him. He taught me how to do the job. And I remember that night I finished shift. I went and had food. And I remember going to my bed, and I was laying in the bed, and I was so proud of myself. I thought, finally, 17 years old, people are giving me responsibility. And I remember being really happy when I fell asleep. Around about 1 a.m, bang, 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 bang on the door. And the night crew was there, and they were furious. And one of them said, "Why the hell didn't you turn off the air compressor tonight?" I'd listened to the story about how to do it, but I hadn't realized it was my responsibility from that day onwards. Now, I was 17. I got a little slap on the wrist. Mick, my mentor, got in a lot of trouble because he was stupid enough to trust a 17-year-old kid with something important. From that day onwards, he never mentored me again. I was a nervous 17-year-old who lost the one person who had shown any interest in me. I lost my mentor because I made a mistake. And I made a mistake because I was too stubborn and proud and stupid to admit I didn't understand things. When I got older, I started supervising people, looking after people, having to train them. And anytime someone came to me and told me they didn't understand, it made me really happy. Because I can teach people who are confused, but I can't teach people who don't admit they don't know something. So my mentor, Mick, he taught me 2 lessons. The first one was something about cows having sex. I don't really understand it. But the second thing he taught me changed my life. Mick taught me that it's much, much more important to ask stupid questions, to put yourself out there, to understand things properly, rather than risk making mistakes and even risk losing possibly a mentor who could change your life also.